Let's talk about books.
Are we on?
We're on.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to We'd Rather Be Reading. I'm Jerica.
And I am Leah.
And today we're talking about the arcs that we've gotten and read. I've read two, and you've read two different.
Yes.
And I went down the romance side. What did you read?
Well, first I chose one of the books that you had selected.
Yeah, okay.
So I just chose one of the books that were there in NetGalley, because we're on NetGalley now.
Yes.
Yeah. And then I decided that your choices were all crap, so
yes.
I needed to make my own choices. And then it turns out that my choices were even more crap, so it was not a good choice. So yeah, that's where I landed.
Do you know what I like about NetGalley? It's like, why did you choose this book? Based on the title, based on the cover, or based on the description, or based on the popularity, or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And I almost always chose it like based on the title or based on the picture, which means I have no idea what the book is even going to be about. But that brings up like a really interesting subject that I've been talking about a lot, because some of these books that I've chosen because of the title, the book is nothing about what the title is.
No.
And I'm not only talking about the arcs that we read, but you're gonna absolutely love this. I read a book because I knew it was just gonna be pure 1000% smut, because it is called Puck Me Secretly. I knew you would love it. Look at the cover. He's just like laying on the bed with all of the abs.
Oh, it's hockey.
He's very, 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 very abbed up in this picture.
I saw like I was on TikTok or Instagram or something like that, and it was just like, I like serious something, like this one has hockey play. Okay, I'm in.
I like serious mixed hockey book. Okay, I read it.
Good.
Okay.
Where do I read it?
But I did get into a little bit of like a hockey theme recently. Not that I actually ever like I'm so directed down that road, but
it's fun reading about hockey.
I actually don't mind it.
But I think it's, for me, I don't really care about hockey. Like, I would not voluntarily go watch a hockey game. Maybe if it was like a show, in Canada, I go see Montreal Canadiens or something.
Okay.
I hear like it's a thing.
Yeah.
Never done it, lived there for 8 years. So clearly, this doesn't happen very often. But I think the reason I like hockey books is because I still understand the game of hockey a little bit. Like, I kind of grasp the rules. I understand approximately how long a game is. I understand kind of what they do. And it's not really the sports, because I think it's like sports movies, it's the feel good. And I think it also is the dedication and drive that I like in people that choose to play sports professionally. Like, I like that they're committed to something and that they're training and that they're doing things. And it also explains their usually amazing bodies, which is another thing where I really struggle with these people having perfect bodies while they never go to the gym. Like, the unrealisticness of that. If I'm reading a hockey book, I understand why these people are hot, like, because they are training a lot. And they're also dedicated and committed, and they can, like, they're driven. Yeah. I like this, but I think I don't connect as much with baseball or American football books and stuff, because I just don't understand the games. Yeah. Like, we went and saw the baseball game when we went to Boston. Yeah. It is the most boring thing I've done in my life.
I actually love baseball. And I dated a baseball player also. And I was like on cloud 9 because I loved going to all of the baseball games. I dated a hockey player and a referee, professional, and I could not drag my ass to those games. It was so, like, I'm just not connected to the sport. No. The sport of hockey. But I understand how, like, all the rules and everything. But I don't mind reading hockey books, because, like you said, you get the sport and you get why they are like they are. And it's sort of...
No, because, I mean, baseball, some of them are fat.
No, but that is a misconception.
No, they are.
No,
and
not.
Also,
they are.
And also,
they're not fat. They don't have that flattering jerseys, like shirts that they wear, because my man was a Greek god, like rippled.
But fair enough. I mean,
but he didn't look like that when you saw him on the plate. He didn't look like that. I mean, the chiseled jaw you saw, but you didn't see all of the abs.
Fair enough. But we went and saw that baseball game, and it was like, no one talks. There's like no one saying anything. And then they were like, and out. And like, no one even hit the ball. Like, they're just throwing and throwing and throwing. No one's hitting that ball. And it's just like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
Why is no one running? Oh, no one's running. Oh, no
I
one's
guess
even
I just
hitting
have
that
a lot
ball.
of patience.
Like, at least with hockey,
there's something
like things are happening all the time. Like, people are punching and there's elbows.
Do you know what I forgot
like,
about hockey that this book reminded me of? You could stop and decide to fight each other.
Like, you just throw your gloves and then you're like, and you're on.
Like, okay, everyone, now we have to watch like a bar fight on the ice. You're like, oh, I forgot that happened.
Yes, so hot. So hot.
Okay, so this Puck Me Secretly book, it is not smut.
Is it an arc?
No, it's not an arc. It's not an arc. It's not an arc. It was on Scribed or one of our things. Mm-hmm. But this book, I think I briefly told you about it. It had everything in it. Like, you like things that are more realistic. This was not. They immediately get into a plane crash where everyone survives.
Oh, pity.
And that's how they meet.
So often.
And she is the daughter of the guy who owns and is the GM of this hockey team. So she's like a little rich girl. And she just finished school. And her father has now decided to make her the assistant GM.
Of course.
Right out of university.
This is how you get these jobs. Yep, got it.
And then he is this like misunderstood.
But I guess it's nepotism at its finest.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
He's the misunderstood like hockey brawler and star player. Mm-hmm. But
the brawler doesn't tend to be the star player. So
no,
this is also unrealistic.
But it was brawler because there's this like side story where there was a woman who was raped that he knew that was like one of the bartenders of the place that they always go to as a team, and one of his teammates raped her. Oh, and he was the one that took her to the hospital. And then she actually got pregnant with that guy's baby and from the rape, and he's like helping take care of her while she's pregnant and so on and so forth. So he's like this misunderstood, super nice guy. But the story was about general managing the team.
Okay.
So it was about like plays, like deals and trades and things like that.
And no smut.
There was a very tiny. There was a tiny sex scene in the beginning, but it was like then 600 pages of just business. Anyways, I really liked it though.
I read a book that you would probably like if it was a different narrator.
Ooh.
This narrator is British, so I know you can never listen to this. It's called Marvelous Light, and it's basically Bridgerton-esque, like late 1800s, early 1900s, magicians and gay love, with quite a lot of smut actually.
Ooh.
So yeah,
is there menage gay love?
I don't even know what this is.
Yes. What do you mean? Is there 3?
Oh my god! I was like, I went to like circus here, and I was like, what the frick are we talking about? Anyways, no, there were no 3s, but there was foresight and a mystery and evil plots and murder schemes and lots of it. It was very good. It was actually very good. And I have to thank my husband for sending that my way.
Nice. So the arcs that we read, the first one I read was called Love Liddy by Blair Harton. Mm-hmm. And the second one I read was called Whiskey on Our Shoes by Tanya Pierce.
Yeah.
Or, sorry, Priest.
I read the one that you chose, Accidentally Famous by Marissa Clark, and Remnants of Atonement by G.P. McKenna, which I chose, which was a mistake.
Where should we start?
Let's do one each. You tell me about your first one, and then I'll tell you about my first one, and then we'll go like that.
Okay, the first one I read was called Love Liddy, and it is, of course, a love story, and it's a really interesting writing style in this book.
Okay.
So it starts off where we meet a 24-year-old famous rock star, and then he meets this 23-year-old beautiful girl named Liddy, that she's like spunky and spicy and all this stuff, and he falls super hard for her, and she is thinking like that his life is like too extra. But the writing style here in this beginning where we have their love story for the first, I think, about 20 chapters. So it's kind of a lot. It's in third person narration, which I don't normally love because I feel less connected to the characters. Yeah. But in this style, everything that was in italics was their inner thoughts.
Okay.
So you still got their inner thoughts, even though it wasn't somebody saying, and then she thought this. That's why I don't like third person narration. And there was a lot of dialogue also, so it sort of opened it up and you really got to know these two characters super well and you root for them. And then the next chapter is 8 years later and it's in first person narration by a girl named Anna.
All right.
You're like,
wild.
What? Who are you? So this is literally in my review. Then we got 8 years later. What? There's a kid. She's 8. Whereas Liddy, which is the female from the beginning, who's this new girl, Anna, the book is now in her perspective. So the book continues in Anna's perspective for the entire rest of the book. Liddy has died in a car crash.
Okay.
And she had the emergency C-section the baby out of her in this car crash. Okay. So baby had never even met the mom and is being raised by this rock star dad who gave up being a rock star. And he lives in this town where his baby mama's whole family lives. Okay. So he felt it was his guilt driven because it was a reporter that was trying to chase him for a story that crashed into him and killed her. So he felt that it was his lifestyle that killed her, which it was. And but here's the thing, these second romances in these books that we've read recently in the past year, I never root for the second person. No, because I'm like,
you're like first loves only.
First loves only. I don't know why, but no, this I really liked Anna. She was 23 and he's 33 at this point because it had skipped so many years ahead, and she's like super great with this 8-year-old. So what happens in the book, which I both like and don't like, is the 8-year-old tells her the story of the mom and the dad. So it's like How I Met Your Mother style.
Fair enough.
And then she finds a note in a guitar. And the note is written from Liddy. That's 8 years ago. And it is this scavenger hunt for a birthday present for Nathan, the main guy. Okay. So then we get P.S. I Love You vibes.
Okay.
Because they're following these little notes that she's written. And you hear how much she loves him in it. And you feel so sad that now he's having his whole life changed, Yeah. It was sad. So we don't get his perspective at all, which I feel was the mistake here. We needed to have a chapter that makes us learn who he is now.
And how are you? There was a car crash. So how are you?
I didn't handle it well. I'm getting emotional thinking about her notes because she got fucking sideswiped while she was 9 months pregnant. That's terrifying. And then he survives and has all this guilt and now has to have this, raise this child alone. And then has to meet this girl later on and try to fall in love with her because the love of his life has died. Anyways, so he says things in this book like this girl is his new love of his life. But I don't feel it because I don't have any of his perspective.
Fair enough.
So I need this author to just do a tiny little redo.
She's going to have to go back.
Put in one chapter. One chapter is fine, just so we get a little bit of him and understanding why he's in love with her. I know why I love her because I hear her and her thoughts and what she's doing, and she's awesome. But I don't know why he loves her.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I gave it I think I gave it 4.5 stars because I really liked the uniqueness of the book. And I like things that are creative and things that I have never read before. And this style of writing was something I never read before, and I really, really liked it. But I need his chapter so that I actually feel connected to the new him.
Fair enough. All right. So I read.
But can I say one more thing?
Of course.
The fact that it's called Love Liddy, it's not about her. I think the title needs to be changed, and I also think the cover needs to be changed. Okay, now.
All right. Good. Some good points here. I hope you're listening. Accidentally Famous by Marissa Clark. And I gave this book 2.5 stars.
I love you. I love you and your generosity.
And it was mostly because it was very unbelievable. And it is...
So I would love it.
But I don't think you would,
No,
in all honesty.
okay.
Because this book is basically Hollywood actor extraordinaire. Had been living life wild for many years, and then managed to shape up his life by bringing back a manager that used to be... she was retired, but she's come back to manage him and help his career get it back on track, basically. So now he doesn't go out anymore, doesn't do drugs anymore, doesn't really drink it. You know, he's back on the straight and narrow.
Okay.
But there's all sorts of rumors all the time about him with different actors and stuff. So his manager decides that he should have a fake romance. So she gives him this list of other celebrities that are like, okay, I don't mind having a fake relationship with this guy. This is fine.
Okay.
But instead of choosing someone from this list, his assistant accidentally tags the wrong person when tagging a photo of him where he says, "I'm coming for you, baby," which is a tagline from one of his like most famous movies. And he's doing that. Usually he's supposed to post a picture on Instagram and tag his sister because it's a running gag within them and he's going to see her that weekend. And people like it when there's like personal things from his actually like, and he does this quite a lot. Like he will post a picture or still from himself in one of these movies or on set or whatever. And he will do just that little tagline whenever he's going to see them. But she misses an underscore in the name and accidentally tags this other girl who lives in this small town in Maine. And it's a carpenter girl.
Oh no.
And then
Sarah from Whistler.
Fully proper Sarah from Whistler. And she is a carpenter. She likes restoring buildings. She's taken over her father's company. He passed away, her dad, fairly recently. And she there's this big Victorian house in this tiny little town where she lives. And she is working on restoring it. And she's had a lifelong crush on the son of the owner of this big house. She had a massive crush on him in high school and like all the way through her grown-up years. He's now a big doctor in Portland, Maine, not Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
She's just hoping that he's going to come back and, you know, see her. Okay. And then they're going to fall in love. So she does this restorations of this house, and her friend films her, and they post it on YouTube, where this tiny little group of like 25 people that are also into restoring these Victorian houses are watching these videos and commenting and helping each other.
Okay, nice.
And all of a sudden, she now gets like thousands of new followers on her YouTube channel, and she's like, what in the actual world like is happening? And it's because the fandom has found her and made the connection.
Okay.
And at first I was like, but what about Instagram? Shouldn't she have gotten like 1 million freaking new followers there? And like, turns out she hasn't actually checked her Instagram in years and years and years, and is not logged in on it anywhere. So the name is like BN something, and it's because the sister is like her and her boyfriend's name, but it's like band nerd. Yeah, it's BN forever, and she's like band nerd forever. Okay. Whereas her sister was B_N or like something like that.
Okay.
And she hasn't actually logged in since like, many years. Okay. So she's not logged in anywhere. So I had to retract my, she should have been on Instagram and realized this earlier. Okay. Because they actually do explain
it. Okay.
Yeah. And then the actor's assistant tells him that, look, I accidentally tagged the wrong person with your photo, and I've taken the photo down, but this person seemed to, and I'm trying to reach out to her and to explain who I am and like apologize. This was a mistake and all of this and that. And then he follows the link and finds her YouTube, and he starts watching it, and he finds her cute, and then his manager's like, this is even better than you hooking up with some random actress. You should just go hook up with this small town girl from Maine. It would be great for your fandom. All the small town girls from every town will think that they will have a chance with you.
Wow.
But so she's like, let's assemble the whole team. Let's go there. And then he goes ahead and he actually approaches her immediately, and she's like, "Who the fuck are you? And why is this like?"
Oh, she didn't even know who he was.
Really know him,
Okay.
no, and like I think she kind of knows who he is, but and then his whole entourage comes in, and this is really where it becomes quite unbelievable because there's like photographers there. Like, yeah, I get the paparazzi; they probably found her. They will want to snap pictures. He shows up, he makes it worse, right? But then his manager shows up with like a full-on proper entourage, like 20 people with like all of the security. And they're in this teeny tiny little place in Maine, which has no hotels, no nothing. So they have to rent this yacht to stay on down by the waterfront. But there's also this other TV show that's run out of this teeny tiny little small town. So there's also other celebrities there.
Oh.
And there's enough like big restaurants that they could actually go and eat at place.
Okay.
Like, it gets a little bit like that. And then the whole plan for this, when they get her to agree to, you know, do this fake little romance thing, is that they're going to do this fake romance. It's going to go on for X amount, and they have to do all of these dates, and they have to do sit-down Q&As with the paparazzi and with the news and all of it, all these tabloids and stuff. And I'm like, this is really where they lost me, because I'm like, trying to think, Brad Pitt accidentally tags random small town person, you know?
Yeah.
Would he really go there and allow himself to be photographed at house parties, at auctions, at everything, you know? Would he? No, of course not. Brad Pitt's gonna sit down and do Q&As and allow himself to be photographed left, right, and center, and have to have, you know, like, it's not gonna happen. And this is really, and then they fall in love for real, of course, by just spending time together. He helps her with the house. He's in a few of her YouTube videos. Which again, would Brad Pitt do this? Most likely, fucking no. And then it's just, it's very insta love, and then there's like. And then the whole thing goes haywire by the manager basically saying, you can't be with him for real, you're ruining his career. Like, stop it, and break it up with him. And then she does, and then they're both miserable, and then they reunite. And all is good. And it ends happily. But it was just like, it was...
And it was cut to the next day, no row.
It was cut to the next day. It was not very cutesy. It was a hard, like, I understand the appeal of, like, this actor. He was very charming and stuff. But her, I didn't really get the fascination with her.
Okay.
So, I don't know.
But it sounded okay until it got Hallmarky.
Yeah, but it was very, like, a week-long hangout with paparazzi. I just had a very hard time thinking that any celebrity would allow this. Like... And yeah, trying to fake a romance with someone to appease fans or whatever, yeah, I can get behind that. But just not even like calling her first, just showing up on her doorstep and being like, hi, I'm the actor that accidentally tagged you in one of my photos. Let's have a fake romance, you know? And she's like, oh yeah, okay, let's do that, you know? It's not exactly what happened. And then there was like this whole thread with the guy she had a crush on for forever turning out to be a jerk, and then only realizing that she was cute because this actor had a thing for her, you know? It got very like that. So, no, 2.5 stars. It was not great. So what else did you read?
I read a book that I chose purely based on the title.
Oh, you told me about this, but the title had nothing to do with anything.
Yeah, exactly. It's called Whiskey on Our Shoes. And one small scene in the very beginning of the book, she spills whiskey on her shoe and his shoe at the same time. Or he spills whiskey. Or whiskey is spilled.
On the shoes.
On the shoes.
Okay.
But it was never brought up the rest of the book. And it has no relevance because...
Did they already know each other when it happened? Or it's that they're meet cute?
Their meet cute is that he brings the whiskey bottle to her out like a recovering alcoholic rock star brother. Oh. And he's like just a delivery boy. So he didn't know that there was actually alcohol in the package. But she figures out that there's alcohol. She goes out to like give it to their staff, and it drops and spills on their shoes. Okay, but so I don't know.
It's the meet cute.
It's the meet cute.
Yeah, that would
is
be the
it?
meet cute.
I mean, anyways,
I don't know. I haven't read this book, but I'm just
the book doesn't have any more reference to it. And they're so young. They're 20 and 21, or I'm not even sure if they're 21 yet, or she turns 20, and it doesn't matter. They're not drinking in the book. And she takes like a champagne bottle, and that's like the only reference to them ever drinking. So there's no like whiskey relevance to the book. Doesn't matter. The title can change, but it did bring me to read the book. So there's a purpose to it. Anyways, okay, so this book is wild. Do you know what's so cool? When you read something and it makes you like have a little more understanding of that life.
Yep.
So this is about a girl and she's 20 and her mom is basically Heidi Klum.
Okay.
And but Heidi Klum, I don't know her personally, but this woman is like really self-centered and narcissistic. So Heidi Klum narcissist version. And then her dad, so you don't find this out until later, but her dad is one of two brothers that are identical twins. And the mom...
Heidi Klum.
What?
You know Heidi Klum is married to an identical twin, right?
No.
Yeah, she's married to like those Tokyo, whatever. There's a band, Tokyo.
So these
I'll figure this out for you.
These are famous like rock musicians, and they're identical twins. And she has slept with both of the brothers, and so basically she doesn't know who her dad is. It's one of them. So she calls them dad and uncle, but she calls, like, it doesn't matter who it is, dad and uncle. So she thinks that maybe her dad is Spike, maybe her dad is Ike, but it doesn't matter because they love her equally and they treat her super well. And so she has grown up on the road with this rock star band. Okay,
She's married to one of these.
Heidi Klum is married to one of these boys?
Yeah. Like much younger than her. But I mean, I think they're a little bit older now, but yeah.
Okay. Well, then it has a little bit more relevance to Heidi Klum that I didn't know. But these rock stars are like Ozzy Osbourne style. So it made me think of, okay, he looks like he looks like a child. Damn, it doesn't matter. Heidi Klum's husband looks like a child. This is not anything having to do with this book. Now we're going into a deep dive on Google. Anyways, okay. We're digressing from the real life Heidi Klum and talking about this book again.
But she's 48.
Yeah.
She was 48 in March this year. She was 48 and he was 32.
Okay.
So 16 years difference.
Okay. That's happening all over the place these days.
It's good. I can get behind this.
Good. I mean, women live longer. You know, the oldest living woman was a French lady, and she was like petite, and she kind of was like, I have French heritage, maybe I will live this long also. She wrote the most important thing of living a long life is good food, a good book, and a good glass of wine. I was like,
I like her. Did you know that Pete Davidson is now dating Emily Ratajkowski?
No.
And JF was like, yesterday, he's like, how does he do this? How ever go? And I'm like, look, I'm sure he texts back real fast and he's super nice. And he's also very tall and got a very big dick.
Yeah.
So every girl that's been dating, I don't know, Kanye West, you're like, what do I want in a man now? I want someone who texts me back.
Yeah.
Is very nice. Is tall and has a big dick. You know, like,
bing, bing, bing.
Yeah, and he was like, well, what about there's a British actress that he was dating and who's much, Kate Beckinsale. And she was much older than him. I'm like, well, he's like half her age. So of course she's going to be like, yeah, I'll try me some of that. I mean, it's not hard to understand. You know?
No, it's not hard to understand. And I do watch the Kardashians, and she does talk about how super sweet and nice and considerate he is, and he's calling all the time and texting all the time. So
no, I'm sure he texts back fast.
Hint, men all over the world, guess what it takes to get a hot chick?
Be tall, have big dick, text back real fast,
be nice.
And be nice. It's not that hard.
That recipe was super simple. I mean, you have to be blessed with genes that allow your dick to be big, because you can't make it big on your own.
Tallness is also
true.
Unless you do that weird surgery where you extend
half
your
of
legs.
it is the roll of the dice. The other half is just be nice.
Yeah. All right, good.
Okay, but can we go back to this book? I really want to talk about it.
I got distracted by Heidi Klum.
Okay, Whiskey on Her Shoes by Tanya Priest. This family is like a mix of the Osbournes and Heidi Klum.
Okay.
So her mom is so famous, and her mom has a previous son with a businessman from 20 years before her. Okay. And he is also a famous musician, the son is. And so the son is 40, and he's like recovering from a really bad incident that happened on stage with flames and stuff. And so he asked his little sister, who's 20, to move in with him in his big, gigantic mansion that has like staff and the whole 9 yards, to sort of keep him company and be his like sober buddy, to make sure that she doesn't allow alcohol or drugs around him, and she has to really be strict about it. And I really like their relationship a lot, because when you're a sibling of somebody that is so much age difference from you, there's like this strange dynamic that happens, but they have pulled it off really well. And okay, so the brother and sister relationship was really unique because there's such a large age gap between the two of them that and they hid her identity for a really long time.
Yeah.
So this Heidi Klum lady has a baby who is this boy, and the boy becomes famous, and everyone knows that his mom is this Heidi Klum lady, and this businessman is his dad, but the businessman is dead, so it's not in the story. And then she has a baby with this famous rock star twins.
Rock star twins, yep.
And
also known as Bill and Tom Collins. No.
And they put her in disguises so nobody knows that she's actually their daughter, which means that she could sort of treat her however she wants to treat her, really, and no one's documenting it, which is kind of a shitty mom thing to do, but it actually does happen. So the mom drops her off with the brother one day, and the brother is like high as a kite and super drunk and with some random girl in some hotel room. Long story short, she's 5 at the time, and she gets her finger stuck in this door and severed.
That is insane.
Right?
Insane.
So she gets her fingers severed.
How much that hurt? You know, just like...
She said she didn't remember the pain. I was like, okay, good.
Ever got your hand stuck in a car door?
Yes.
Because this is like the worst pain in the fucking world. Like, it is so
like
bad.
Finger severed. So it's her index finger. So he takes her to the hospital, drives her, totally drunk and high, to the hospital. Bad mood, but anyways, good thing she got there. Well, what did he do? Forget the finger. So the hospital's like, now we just need to cauterize the wound. She's going to have a stub. So the Heidi Klum mom comes in, throws a bunch of money at the hospital and says, reconstruct her hand so it looks like that there's no stub, that there was no finger there to ever exist. And so they do, and they attach the middle finger to the thumb, and it creates sort of like an optical illusion where it looks like everything is normal, but there's actually one finger less. And for me, this is like so well described in the book that I see it, and I see it all the time now, and I can never unsee it and never unknow this surgery. And I wonder if this happens. Like,
you're gonna have to Google it.
I need to Google this.
Not right now.
No, okay, not right now. But that was such a cool part of the book that helped you understand that girl is a little bit of a loner, a little bit of an introvert, a little insecure also. And you also see that then the relationship develops between her and her brother, where her brother starts to open her eyes to how she's been treated by the mother over the years. And like, don't you see? You're just like this puppet thing. Now she's growing up and she's becoming super beautiful, like her mom, tall, thin, blonde. And the mom is intimidated by her beauty and doesn't want her in the paparazzi.
Okay.
Because she doesn't want any light off of herself. So it turns out that she decides to come out into the public, and then the public follows, the paparazzi follows her around, finds out who her hot cowboy boyfriend is, follows him around, and then there's a lot of false narratives in the media because of this, which is really realistic. They take pictures of you with somebody and you're like, now you're dating this person and now you're having a baby. You know, like there's so many things that the media says that is just not true.
Yeah, but you can clear all of that up by having a Q&A for a week with the paparazzi.
Oh, right. Exactly. In a
Like
Hallmark.
Like normal famous people do. We all have that, right? Every celebrity, all their Q&As. Yeah.
No.
But
so this creates a lot of roller coaster miscommunications, and you know, I'm a lover of communication. It's my kink. And in this book, there is not a lot of communication. All the thoughts are inside of the head, and they don't say them out loud. They jump to conclusions. But the thing is with this 20-year-old, because she's been through so much therapy, she actually has a lot of these like tools that she uses to then forgive him quite quickly when she trusts him and allows herself to trust him. And he's like just a fumbling, boy still. So he doesn't really know what he's doing or how to communicate with somebody. But their young love was believable inside of this crazy family. And I really enjoyed this book. The only thing that I was missing was a proper epilogue, because we don't, and this is just personal preference. I like to know what happens. They just sort of ended it as in she comes out into the public, things are cleared up, and she's moving forward with her, relationship, and she's into tiny houses. But for me, now that she's like finding her own self, where is that leaving them? I know you don't mind this at all. You would be fine with it ending there, but I'm like, what is he just going to quit university and follow her around in her tiny home because she technically has a lot of money? But what if her mom cuts her off because she threatened that earlier in the book? So I'm like, what happens next? And you're like, I'm fine with this. But I would
go read this one. It sounds not too bad.
It is not too bad. Read it.
I will do.
Whiskey on Our Shoes by Tanya Priest. I recommend it. I think the cover of the book makes it seem like the book is going to be
It looked a bit like
teeny.
that hook, line, and sinker style book. Yeah, okay.
No smut in this one either.
Well, I read Remnants of Atonement by G.P. McKenna.
Yeah.
And, I wish I hadn't.
Okay.
And I chose this book partially because I kind of like the cover. It's got like this weird-ass tree on it.
Yeah.
I like the Remnants of Atonement. It made me think of Atonement, the movie. I was like, this could be good.
Okay.
I read the description, which sounds funny and good. A little bit like that. The Knights that we read, the ones that keep getting caught all the time, like the funny one. We read it a while back. Anyways, this is about drunk knights, dehydrated fish people, floor of a local tavern after closing. It sounds like it's going to be a funny book. So I was like, okay, this I like funny sometimes. This could be a good ride. No, it just wasn't. This was a 1-star for me. And
Jesus Christ,
I
generosity
genuinely struggled to finish this. It took me 2 weeks.
Tell me how long this book is.
Okay, it's on my phone, 1,411 pages long.
That is insane.
That is too fucking long.
Yeah.
It's too long by at least 75%.
Wow.
Which you would not need for this book. And I read, and I kept on reading, and I still, at 75% through the book, did not know what this book was about. Because it has no plot. And I think this is like the biggest problem with this book. There's no plot. There's nothing driving the characters. They have no motives. The characters are very flat. There's you never understand their actions. They say one thing, they do something completely different. And it's just, I know she was trying to be funny with it, but most of it just turns out to be disgusting. Like, the main girl, Kilko, her mom is a doctor. And this, I think, is a post-apocalyptic world where there's sometimes electricity, but it doesn't. It seems to have gone back to a more primitive way of living. But they still have the books, and this was kind of like a funny part because they read books and they describe them, and it's like the Hunger Games and Twilight and Harry Potter, but they don't mention them by name. But they were like, then we read this. 3-part book about sparkling vampires, and you're like, oh, that's Twilight. And then we read this 7-part book about this wizarding boy, whatever. So you know what books they're talking about. So it's after our time, but it's not our time. And they're like, there's magic and all of this stuff. And so her mom's a doctor. She's been given a job as the main doctor at a camp that's on like the front lines of this war that's going on, but they're never actually fighting. I don't know who's fighting. The princess is there in her tent. They're all in tents, but the tents are like houses. There's staircases in it. There's proper doors. There's like whatever. And the princess has these people called the Ilvario that are sworn to protect her from, like, always. There was an agreement at some point, and it's stitched by blood or something into this wall hanging thing, something or other. And she treats them horribly. And then one of these Ilvarios, they have to cover their faces until they turn 16 because they have to maintain their innocence. And one of these Ilvarios, he gets sick. Because of her, he almost dies. But no, this is later. He gets sick. He's sick anyways. He's hurt and injured or whatever and sick. And he has to stay in this isolation room, and Kilko's mom makes her stay in there with him. And it's unclear how long they're in there. This is where they read all the books. And then after a while, they kind of become friends, but they're not really friends. And he kind of wants to be with her, but he doesn't really. And she seems to just be in love with everyone. She's in love with his mom. She's in love with him. She's in love with the shield. That's a guy that has this undefined birthmark that makes him like the protector of the princess or the realm or something like that. And he sleeps with everyone, but he's also in love with this Ilvario boy. But she sleeps with him at one point. And then they can't ever tell anyone about it. And then they're fighting monsters. And then they're fighting monsters because she gets bitten and she gets somewhat possessed, I believe, by this monster that is in love also with this Ilvario boy. And then he comes there and he fights it, and then he dies. And then they find this warlock that's being held in a basement, and he can bring him back to life. So they have to fight this other monster to get him out. And they get him out, and then he brings the Ilvario boy back to life. And while he's doing that, they get attacked by something. They think it's the other forest that's attacking them, but it turns out it's this other warlock or wizard girl that looks exactly like Kilko, but she's wearing red. And she's throwing fireballs, and then they just tell her to stop, and then she just kind of goes away, and there's no explanations for it.
Oh.
And then everyone's pissed off at her because she brought this Ilvario boy back to life, and then she has to fight to train because they have to go and kill this other monster that's possessed her because he's also possessed the Ilvario boy. So now she's training with his mom, but there's no actual plot in there. Like, you just jump from thing to thing with no, like, now this is happening, or why is this happening? And no one has any motivations for anything. Like, this warlock is just, I can bring him back to life. What do I get for it? Like, there's nothing. It's, and there's so many spelling errors. And it's not like, I believe this book needs an editor, like,
okay,
direly, desperately needs an editor that can shape it, trim it, and fix all of these spelling errors, because it's not spelling errors as in things are misspelled. It's things are misspelled so they make a different word.
Okay.
So if you just run a spell check, it will come up as fine because you spelled a different word.
Right.
But it changes the meaning. At one point, she falls on the mildewy grass.
Okay.
In the morning. And I'm like, you mean like dewy grass, and like in the morning, not mildewy. That's something different, like. And in the shield, it's supposed to say shield, but it says shied away. Like,
okay,
it's like these things where you like drop the letter or you added an extra one, and it just changes meanings. And there's so many. Like, I stopped counting up to 20, and that was in like the first just 60 pages or something.
Wow,
there's so many of them, and it's just incoherent. It's rambling, and it tells you nothing. Like, I know nothing about these characters. I know nothing about their motivations. I don't know what they're trying to accomplish. I don't know what the end goal is, and apparently there's 2 more books.
Whoa.
In this. And I'm like, and it just ends abruptly, and it's like, I understand that you're trying to like set us up for a sequel.
Yeah.
But I don't even know why I read this. Like, I don't know what are they trying to do? Like, they're not trying to do anything, and it's not even just like a slice of life, like, hey, a day in the life of these people, because those books can be good, but that's not what this is.
They're trying to do something and you just don't know what it is.
But we don't know what it is.
Oh, that's frustrating.
Yeah, and it just goes on and on and on, and it's so rambling and so random, and like, she's like fights this monster, so she's covered in monster goop, and then she's covered in blood because someone died, and then people have vomited on her. She vomited on herself, and then she doesn't shower or change her clothes for like 3 days, and then she's like sneaks into bed with this Silvario boy, and he just lets her sleep there, and she's like, oh, I should probably change I'm the only one still covered in all this goop, and I'm like, this is not funny anymore. This is just disgusting at this point, you know? Like, I spent so much time just being concerned about the state of her clothes. And, like, is she covered in vomit? Can she please wash her hands? Like, she's supposed to be working in the infirmary with her mother. And her hands are, like, covered in vomit and shit and goop. So and she's just, like, operating on people. Like, no, she should wash her hands. This is important.
Your obsession with her hygiene.
It's like if you read it, and I'm like, everyone else showers. It's like, and she's obsessed with the Silvario boy's hair, and she's like, oh, and he washed it. It was no longer greasy and filled with blood like before. And I'm like, good, because this guy has fucking hygiene, you know? Like, you should maybe shower too.
We should get some goop in that hair right now.
Oh, and like everything stinks, and like the way she describes smelling it, like she goes to the privy, she's like urine soaked, and like the infirmary is like vomit with the lemon scented like cleaner, or like decay with the lemon scented clean. Like, it's all like that, and I'm like, this place must be so disgusting. Yeah, it was not good. I'm sorry.
Right.
And I really tried. And I know I haven't been very generous with my stars for these arcs, but I just cannot, in good conscience, give it like 5 stars and then force some other poor sucker to read this thing, because most of like the other 1-star reviews, and there's quite a few of them, were like, did not finish, like could not do this. Like, this book was too rambly, too incoherent, what was it trying to do? Like, what are these characters even doing?
Well, it looks like my choices actually were the better ones.
Yeah, but now I'm reading a new arc. I just started, and it's called Going Dark, and it's by Melissa de la Cruz. And this one I have high hopes for.
Okay.
Apart from the fact that it scrolls the wrong way, which is a struggle.
Right. I love the cover of it.
Yeah.
Very
and
cool.
It's modern. It's like this influencer girl, she goes missing on a vacation in Italy. So it's going to be a little bit of a mystery kind of thing going. Many different people point of view. I have high hopes. I started, I'm at 12% in, so I'll keep you posted.
Okay,
might be more than 2 stars.
Shall I read Mail Order Cowboy?
Yeah, that one's on you. You're going to have to be the one to read that. I cannot.
All right. We will update you guys next week. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
We'd Rather Be Reading is an original podcast by Jerika Seron and Leah Sanfo. The music for The Penguins, written and performed by David Allred from the album The Transition, courtesy of Erased Tapes. Please check him out on Spotify and check us out on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram at We'd Rather Be Reading, and on Twitter at We'd Rather Read. You can also email us at we'drathebereadingthepod@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.